Why did it have to happen? Well, you could just take a look at the two suspects, you know? I was actually talking to my dad, right? And yeah, he had my eldest brother in his late 20s, 29, and then, subsequently me, 5 years later. But I only bring that up because the assailant in this Bondi Beach shooting in Australia, tragic, tragic. The two suspects, I mean, well, the two people who just did it, they're on camera. I saw it too. I was watching it. I saw them get shot too. They blurred it out when they got hit because it was on a news station. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the usual suspects. I'm making this more of a serious video. But it's still gonna have my offbeat cussing and non I guess politically correct takes and mannerisms and stuff. My usual stick. See what I did there? I tried to come off Jewish, but they've been through a lot. They've been through a lot, and I was thinking about how I was gonna approach this video. Like I was kind of angry at again Jewish men my age who are just living abroad, like pretty much everywhere. Here, Canada, in America, Australia, even, and elsewhere, right? Europe, etc., etc., right? Um, when the October 7th attack occurred, to me, I thought that was like a calling to at least men of the Jewish state to say, hey, we're going to take this seriously. We're not going to let our brothers and sisters suffer in silence. We stand united as one, right? And it was just like this ultimate unifying force. Like it was just like now or never because the stakes were never higher and the opposition was relentless. Relentless. Like we're talking about protests, paid for protests, most likely by George Soros. I think George Soros is actually Jewish. Or I don't know, maybe he's not. I think he's one of those guys who was just pointing out Jewish people, and he would get candy. I think he told that story. Excuse me. He's such an evil bastard. Fuck. And he's probably still alive funding these fucking things too. Not this one in particular. I'm just saying other instances of protests and stuff like this. Not this incident. This incident is very much um Australia is one of those places that has beautiful women. So beautiful that it's kind of hard to believe how beautiful they are. When you look at their faces, you're just like, huh? You're looking at a beautiful painting that someone spent, I don't know, maybe a month or a couple months creating, and it's just this beautiful woman, right? And you're just watching these people who look like literal works of I don't mean to say it like that. That's actually objectifying. Let's just say that they're a beautiful spectacle of people. The women, at least. I think the guys are I guess, good looking. Maybe I'm a hater. They are good looking. I am a hater. uh, 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 uh. And yeah, so what happens when you have that level of beauty? You draw the ire of the jealous, of the people who have jealousy in their heart, who have hatred in their heart. And I thought of many theories behind it, and I'm gonna go through all of them because I made this video a little bit on the longer side because I want to at least get everything out of the way. So before I watched this video, I prepped myself into the whole um, I call it the whole car confession pandemic, epidemic, or whatever you want to label it. It's just all these guys, and there's nothing really wrong with it. Okay, if that's what they want to do, okay, fine. They get in their car. They have a camera running on them. I should do this. You gotta join the club. Yo, guys, my life sucks. I'm in my car. It's just like playing the camera, looks at my face. I'm gonna like make sure like like the lighting is also like makes me like look more depressed. I'm looking at this one I'm doing on YouTube. And, like I noticed these guys like they tend to do that. They make it like go to like this part of the parking lot. I don't know if it's like in front of the light or like slightly in like the radius in the shadow. It just makes them look more depressed. I don't know. They all know how to do it. It's a craft. It's a genre of YouTube video. I'm sorry if I'm like not. I'm supposed to take this shit seriously, but like I'm prepping for this like fucking lonely man epidemic bullshit where these like guys are just like, I'm so lonely. I need to kill people now. Ugh. Oh my god. So there's a lot of this, and what does it lead to? Well, it leads to the extremes, right? Like it leads to self-harm, it leads to substance abuse, and oftentimes, I'm sorry, it leads to the violence against people that we all know and most likely has taken place just this recent over this recent event. This is an unfortunate occurrence, and we have to take it seriously in the sense that I don't want to say I told you so or that I'm right or that I'm like some kind of like predicting force of intelligence. I'm just a guy who makes casual observations, and from the ones that I have made, I have reached that the the cowardice of men to allow those young children and like you know what I mean, like in their 20s and like some of them teens and shit to go fight in this war against Hamas, basically it's like like a relentless force. Like they're going up against the population density that is like, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, 5 to 7 times their own, if not larger. And I can only imagine what that will do to you being on edge for that long and like, people like, bashing you and like, protesting against you, saying like, yo, you're the cause of all this. If you didn't continuously fight, you know, they would give the hostages back and then everything will be back to normal. It's like, yo, what the hell are you talking about? This is how this started. They're fighting to get them back. And it's this kind of weird realization that like it must suck to be on that side. To have not only, your own like, people like protesting against you, but your own men turning their backs on you. Because had I been Jewish and this happened to like, whatever, like, I joke about like, not going back to fight for India and stuff, but like at some point that war is gonna come to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just because I say I'm not a Hindu anymore doesn't mean like people see it that way, you know? And I think that's very much the case for Jewish people, and the fact that a large sum of men just they didn't want to like defend Israel. They didn't want to help fight for their country. And the fact that they didn't means everywhere that you feel safe, they'll come for you, these terrorists. But I think there's another layer to this that people are, excusing. And I've been looking online about which terror group was actually taking credit for this attack on by beach shooter terrorist claim, because they're calling it a terrorist attack. But I'm actually wondering which terror group, like, took credit for it. Like, was it Al Qaeda? Was it ISIS? Was it, like, you know what I mean? Like, which specific group? Because going, like, they're calling it, but it's terrorist inspired more likely, but they're calling it a terrorist attack, which, okay, cool. But it should be said which terrorist group took credit for this, and they're just calling it a terrorist attack and no exactly sorry, group is linked to this. So more than likely this was inspired by and this is why this video has to be so long, because this is what I think, and I could be getting this wrong. So I'm going to go over, many paths to this. All right. So I think that the husband, right, and I think they're called Khan, Saeed Khan, or something like that. Okay, it doesn't really matter at end of the day. Like, they're Pakistani of origin. I'm gonna look at their images now. Yeah, you can see the son. It's like this kind of like fat, ugly, boorish type of face, and the father is like also the same, like this like very, unattractive, unappealing. And I have to bring this up because so here is my crackpot theory. Okay, so the husband, right? The man, sorry, husband. I don't know why I'm calling him that. The dad in this terrorist attack, right? Um, moved to Australia when he was like, in his 20s and shit, or maybe sooner, and then like had the kid. I don't even know if the kid is Australian born or like whatever, but like this says, like, I'm just gonna go off the appearances and stuff because I'm shallow like that. Okay, um so they got into the country, right? And they were just like chilling for a bit. The guy went through, like, the usual channel, went to public school, went up to high school, post secondary. And here's my theory as to why, this terrorist attack was carried out. So he's just like, maybe this socially awkward type of guy, you know what I mean? And like I said in the beginning of this video, I alluded to the whole pandemic epidemic of like guys. Yeah, you know what? If girls want to do that, that's cool. I'm not gonna judge girls. Like, fuck that. Okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing. I'm coming at this from a guy's perspective to judge my fellow man because I wear lipstick and nail polish. I'm like a traitor and shit. Okay, but for real, so he was like not, you know, like very lucky or fortunate with the opposite gender, which many younger generations attribute to many things, like the whole growing up with social media, everybody having cell phones in high school, basically. Um, and then COVID, right? As I'm watching one of these confessions, of this guy in a car talking about like why, his life is so hard and like, what impacts him. Because it's like, to me, and like, of course, right? Because I'm much older. When COVID hit, it was just like depressing to me, but it was also like, it wasn't as bad as like, people who would want to like, go through like graduation or like going to the prom or like, going to college normally, or like, you know what I mean, like the first formative years of like your life, when you're supposed to be doing something. Now you're just doing it online and stuff. So I understand to an extent that there is some like social damage and it could be conceived as irreparable. But here's where I'm coming from. Like, okay, so even though I went through that kind of stuff, like I guess I can argue that even though I'll never be able to fully overcome certain levels of my insecurities, I can simply acknowledge that I could just move on from it, basically, you know, if that makes sense. And this very much is the case with these young men that like have not understood this like concept fundamentally, that unless they adhere to the concept of accepting pain and like suffering as a form of growth, like they just can't reconcile this. Like they can't understand why like they have social anxiety problems, or understand why people don't like them, or understand why girls don't like them, or etc., right? And a lot of guys are dealt a rough hand in life, genetically speaking. And some of them actually don't have that problem, but they just like waste it. And then it just seems like that, but it's like their laziness. So it's kind of this weird scenario where you kind of want to help them, but you simultaneously you realize like this is the reason why fitness coaches make so much money. This is why guys like Andrew Tate are like making fortunes of money and stuff, because it's like people want a brother figure, a father figure, etc. Like they're just that desperate for that parasocial relationship at the end of the day. And that's where we're at right now. Where this guy, and I think like this is like either that or the extreme, right? Where again, like you're living in a first world country, you go to the beach and stuff. Like this is Bondi Beach, right? You're gonna see guys shirtless. You're gonna see them like fucking ripped with like whatever and shit, right? And like what if man's got caught with some sus like material on his computer, and whatever, if he wants to do that, whatever, right? I'm not judging him, but his dad, right, sees that, yeah, right, you know what I mean? And then one thing leads to another, and then like they're both radicalized at a certain point, because it's like the dad feels betrayed about basically using his anchor baby son to whatever, just normalize his life there, but it's like betrayed from him because it's like son is like whatever, like ill-conceived in his eyes, right? Whereas like on the other hand, the son is repressing it, so it's like he's just like pleasing his dad at the end of the day. And then like father and son, they just go out and just mass murder, and they point the finger at the Jews because again, like Jewish girls are hot, you know, they have money, right? You're jealous of them, right? They're exclusionary, especially after the whole October 7th thing. It's like the cool thing to do. And like when you really think about it, it's like the optics of it. Like, cause they could have went out in a blaze of glory and just like shot up people at any random place, or even just like the beach itself, and just like excluded the whole Jewish aspect. But I think they clung to it because it was like an easy way out for them to like explain away their shame and shit, and like the whole loneliness and the whole affinity for men and stuff. And then like subsequently, the dad finds out, and then it's just like one thing leads to another. And it's just they gotta do it. They gotta fucking do it. And it's like they're doing it because they blame that society and not their own laziness and lack of apprehension and comprehension that it was their fault the whole time. Because it's like these guys all the time, right? They get in their cars, they put the camera on their face, they start like spilling out their fucking feelings and shit, and it's always about them. And it's like I'm like wondering to myself, like, what happens if your kids see this? Do you even want to have kids? Like, do you even think about that? Like, I think about sometimes like the streamers and shit. And so it's funny that I bring that shit up is because okay, just not too long ago, I made a video about like streamers are the worst, and then this one streamer just like full on grabs a girl and just like pelvic thrusts her like hard in front of a camera, like, just in front of everybody on Kai Cenat stream. And like, she doesn't want to stream anymore, and then like some like, drama behind that. It's like these lonely guys are gonna think of and bring up any excuse to do and act the way they want to like hide like the truth deep down inside. They're like highly insecure people. Like, like if you sit this guy down, he's alive right now, and he's probably gonna be interviewed. He's most likely gonna like say some things that I won't find surprising. Take care.